Hey guys, welcome and welcome back. In today's video, we'll be covering the latest updates around the Bitcoin market. We'll also be talking about technical analysis predictions of Bitcoin, as well as strategy, MSTR stock, what the price of Bitcoin can really get to in the year 2025, and what does that mean with strategies share price. Now, most of you are wondering how high can Bitcoin really go in this bull cycle. We're beginning to see Bitcoin run up now back into the $100,000. Altcoins are running, you know, the entire sector, stocks hedging Bitcoin. I think, this is a great opportunity where we're going to see some huge upsides, as well as the latest news around just tariffs, trade talks between Scott Bessent, United States and China. So in fact, with the negotiations that have been ongoing, we've been hearing about how China is inquiring about United States strategy to hodl Bitcoin. So to me, I think in the next 24 hours, there's going to be something big that's going to be happening with Bitcoin price. Now, let's go ahead and get started. And if you're new to this channel, thank you for stopping by. If you want to, follow me, do so with the subscribe and like, turn on the bell notification. Let's begin, guys.
I want crypto. I think crypto is important because if we don't do it, China's going to. And it's new. It's very popular. It's very hot. If you look at the market, when the market went down, that stayed much stronger than other aspects of the market. But I want crypto because a lot of people, millions of people want it. I don't know if you know that Biden went after it violently. And then before the election, he changed his tune entirely. His head of the SEC, everybody changed their tune. You know why? Because there were hundreds of millions of people that are participating in crypto and they wanted to get their votes.
So there you heard it from President Trump in that we got to embrace Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now, being adopted by every state in the United States, companies, the whole entire world right now is figuring out ways on how to buy Bitcoin. And if, let's say, you're new to Bitcoin, I would really encourage studying it. We have everyone, really trying to ramp up their purchases of Bitcoin. Start small, stack sats. I wouldn't, just wait because why? It'll only get more and more expensive. Now we're looking at top asset class by market cap. Bitcoin bypasses Google, Amazon, they're right behind Nvidia. So like let's say Bitcoin price gets to like 130, 140K, it's going to bypass, Nvidia and Apple, and then it'll be right behind Microsoft. So it's only a matter of time. I think once Bitcoin gets to like 150,000 per Bitcoin, it's going to be right behind gold number two, and it'll be only a matter of time. How many years will it be? Will it be next year, the year after 2026, where Bitcoin will leap and take the number one leading top asset by market cap? We're looking at the digital asset strategic Bitcoin reserve states. There's so many states right now trying to push proposals to get strategic Bitcoin reserve executed in their states so each state can really, buy Bitcoin, have the treasury appreciate so that the states can become stronger over time. So orange is new black. As we look at the race between all the states, in fact, we're now seeing the dominoes falling. New Hampshire was the first domino that dropped. And what happened? This is creating a very fast domino effect. Arizona, we heard that they, got the denial from the government. And what happened? A week later, it got approval from the government. So now Arizona can buy Bitcoin as well. Texas, at one point, we're going to very well, I think in the next week or two, we're going to hear updates on Texas getting approval for the strategic Bitcoin reserve as well. So everything is ramping up very fast right now. I think Bitcoin is just going to shoot up to the moon right now. Even Conor McGregor, he's trying to call Ireland to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. He studies it. He knows the value of Bitcoin. It's important to adopt it early. Why? Because the countries that do it later are going to be left behind, and it'll only be more and more difficult to evolve as a country as a whole. We're looking at Saylor's posting today. He announces another post on X, connect the dots. So the fact that Bitcoin price is higher, that's going to correlate with MSTR price going up higher. So what does that mean? Strategy can leverage the ATM and sell more shares to buy a larger amount of sats. So I'm thinking tomorrow we might very well hear like a Bitcoin purchase of greater than 10,000 Bitcoins, or even around that range of like 15 to 20,000 Bitcoins, which we've seen happen over the course of the last several weeks. So definitely a huge upside, and getting closer to that one Nakamoto. So Saylor doesn't stop. He's been just stacking sats since COVID time. It doesn't matter the price. I posted on X yesterday that MSTR isn't just buying Bitcoin, it's turning fiat into digital gold. So you can think of Michael Saylor as that black hole, sucking up all of that, fiat as fuel for the black hole. And you can think of, Bitcoin refinery as strategy, similar to what we see in this visual here. Every dollar gets sucked in and exit as pure orange power, just as an input, sucking up all that fiat. As an output, shareholders hold on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will never go away. It's not temporary. You can think of, dessert as being temporary, but Bitcoin will last forever. Here's an interesting post from Chris Millis in that at one point we had MSTR November last year. It ran up to $540 and then it went back to level two, going to that $200, and then it went back to level three, level four, $400. And next up, the question is, will we get to $500? I think this door is going to be open, whether it's going to be this month or the following month. But definitely some huge upside. Let's go. Let's talk about technical analysis of Bitcoin. So we're looking at, the daily chart of Bitcoin. What we've seen since September all the way to December timeframe was that all-time high of Bitcoin. And since that November run up, we've been just seeing Bitcoin retracing down. A lot of people were fearful. There were a lot of outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs, but just with the last couple of weeks, there's just been an enormous amount of inflows being injected into like the Bitcoin ETFs as well as on the Bitcoin exchanges. But what we're seeing is Bitcoin price, just shooting up from that retracement down to like 72,000. We saw that 50 to 200 day SMA crossing. In fact, April 20th, we had Bitcoin cross the 50-day SMA, and then a little later, 3 days later, it crossed the 200-day SMA. Now we're seeing relative strength, get back up, MACD, having that bullish divergence flag. Where we are right now, we're holding very well in that $100,000 range. The fact that we got up from like 50,000 to over 100K, this is a very good signal, seeing some consolidation, because I think that we're going to see that next leg up. Most of you are wondering, how high can Bitcoin really go? I'm banking on Tom Lee's forecast somewhere around that 180 to 200K. I think in the near term, we may very well get to that 140K. Then we may see some topping off there. People will take profits, and then consolidation from 140. End of the year, we will likely get to that $200,000 Bitcoin price, especially with just so much going on right now. Strategic Bitcoin reserve states are going to buy Bitcoin. Financial institutions are buying up so much. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and like 95% right now is being held by someone who's just hodling right now. Let's take a look at technicals of strategy. So where the current price is over that, $400 range. We passed level one prior resistance, which flipped to the support level. I don't think we're going to get to this level anytime soon. We're now getting to that level two retest resistance in orange, which I've talked about. Market participants are really trying to push the price up. Strategy has been just retracing down from 550 to 220. That was a big drop just with matter of months, but we're seeing higher highs. We're seeing relative strength pick back up. We also see the 50-day simple moving average crossing that happened, April 9th, and then towards that time of April 11th, we crossed that 200 SMA. So definitely some nice indicators. I think that we may very well, surpass that 440 prior resistance, have the price hover around before we see that next leg up to that 540 range. But let's say as Bitcoin price gets to 200,000, we may very well have strategy get to that 4-digit level. I think in the long term strategy, there's a lot of talks about, whether it can bypass the Mag 7. I do think that this company is going to be a $1 trillion company, currently in the billions. Uh, it's only a matter of time where strategy, there's going to be a lot more buyers. I think that there's no other company that can really tell a compelling story right now just because of the business model, holding on to the most amount of Bitcoin. Strategy is the ultimate hedge towards leveraging Bitcoin, and that is why a lot of investors love this company. I think that we may very well get to that 4 digits long term, even, more than that right now. So definitely some huge upside, whether it's, long-term investing or even short-term. I think that strategy has huge potential in the year 2025. So on the weekly, you see consistent green candles after, a huge bloodbath that we've seen with that retracement. So we see 6 weeks of upside candles similar to what we saw in 2024. I don't think the top is up yet. Relative strength hasn't even broken out yet, which we've seen back in March 2024 at 90 RSI, at 84 RSI. We're at that 60 range right now. So, it's steadily increasing, which is what we want to see. I think that we may very well see that next leg up with what we've seen, in 2024's time frame. So definitely some huge upside as Bitcoin appreciates to 200K. Strategy is on the verge to getting into that $1,000 range, similar to how Bitcoin is reaching new, levels that we've never seen before. So with all of that, I want to play a video clip of Saylor.
You know who was a denier? Me. And you know what I became next? A skeptic. And then at some point, I looked and I said, the world's kind of messed up and interest rates are zero and my dollars are generating zero. I'm going to buy Bitcoin. And I became a trader. And then after I bought the Bitcoin, I started reading a lot more and listening to a lot more podcasts and thought about it. And I realized, no, I should be an investor. And I would say when you started hearing about me, I was kind of at the investor stage, but it was everybody in this community and every Bitcoin podcaster and every writer and every educator that collectively got me over the line to becoming a maximalist, where I said.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed another episode. Let me know what your comments, thoughts are down below, how high you think Bitcoin and strategy stock can go up in the year 2025. And if you're new to this channel, I'm so grateful that you're here. I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Thanks and happy Mother's Day, everyone.